They say every legend casts a shadow. And in the shadow of John Wick, the Baba Yaga, the man who killed 3 men with a pencil, the impossible task made flesh, there walked another. His name was Victor Volkov, not Wick's equal. Few were, but his reflection, perhaps his dark mirror. A man who understood what it meant to lose everything and become something else, something worse. In the underworld, they didn't speak of Victor often, not because he wasn't feared. He was, but because his story was too close to John's, too familiar. And in that world of blood oaths and gold coins, familiarity breeds unease. They called him the Hound, not because he was Wick's dog, never that, but because, like John, once he had your scent, once you became his purpose, the hunt never ended. This is his story, and how it intersected with the Baba Yaga himself. Victor knew of John Wick long before they met. Everyone did. The impossible task, the retirement, the brief, beautiful peace John had found with Helen, and then the unraveling, the stolen car, the dead puppy, the return of the boogeyman. Victor had watched from the margins as John Wick tore through the Russian underworld like a force of nature. He'd seen the bodies pile up, seen empires crumble, and he'd understood, because Victor had once had his own Helen, his own moment of peace. Her name was Aliska, his daughter, Anna, a bookshop in Prague, a quiet life far from the blood and gold. He'd done his time in the underworld, 5 years as an enforcer for the Ruska Roma, same organization that had raised John. He'd earned his exit, paid his debts, walked away. 3 years of peace. 3 years of bedtime stories and morning coffee, and the simple miracle of being human again. And then, one winter night, the Tarasov family, the same family John would later dismantle, sent a message to a rival faction. Wrong address, wrong family. The bomb didn't discriminate. When Victor returned home, he found nothing but ash and memories. The police told him it was a mistake. Collateral damage. Wrong place, wrong time. The Tarasovs sent flowers, condolences, just like they would years later after ISF Tarasov killed John Wick's dog. But Victor didn't have John's reputation, didn't have his connections, his legend. He had only grief and a choice. He went to the high table, offered himself back to the machine he'd escaped, his skills, his life, everything, in exchange for one thing: permission. Permission to hunt the Tarasovs. They granted it, not out of mercy. The high table doesn't do mercy, but because Victor was useful, efficient, and the Tarasovs had been growing too bold, too reckless. Victor became their tool. For 3 years he hunted, methodical, relentless, silent, while John Wick was dismantling the family from the top. Victor was erasing them from the bottom. Mid-level enforcers, accountants, suppliers, anyone who touched that operation. They never met, but their work orbited each other like twin stars. 2 men, 2 tragedies, 2 paths of vengeance running parallel, until they finally converged. It happened in Casablanca. Victor was tracking the last Tarasov lieutenant, a man named Sergei, who'd fled after John had killed Vigo. The Continental, there was neutral ground, but Victor wasn't looking for sanctuary. He was looking for a closure. He found John Wick instead. The Baba Yaga sat alone in the hotel bar, a glass of bourbon untouched before him. Even in rest, he looked dangerous, coiled, a weapon pretending to be a man. Victor recognized him immediately. Everyone did. He should have walked away. His target was upstairs. His mission was clear, but something made him stop. John Wick, Victor said quietly, approaching the bar. John's eyes flicked up, assessing, calculating, recognizing another predator. Do I know you? No, but we've walked the same path. Victor gestured to the empty seat. May I? John studied him for a long moment, then nodded once. Victor sat, ordered vodka. They drank in silence. Finally, John spoke. Who did you lose? Not if. Who? Because men like them only existed after loss. My wife. My daughter. Victor's voice was steady, but something flickered in his eyes. Tarasov operation. 3 years ago. Wrong target, they said. Collateral damage. John's jaw tightened. He knew that pain. Knew it intimately. I heard about your dog, Victor continued. What they took from you. What you did about it. It wasn't about the dog. I know. Victor raised his glass. It was about what the dog meant. They drank. Your target upstairs. John said. It wasn't a question. The last one. Sergei. After him, it's done. And then... Victor smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. I don't know. You tell me. What happens when the vengeance is over? John looked at his glass. You feel nothing. The hole doesn't fill. The dead don't come back. Did you stop? No. Why not? John's eyes met his. Because stopping means facing what's left. And there's nothing left. Victor nodded slowly. He understood. There's a rumor, Victor said carefully, that you're planning something against the high table itself. John didn't respond, but his silence was answer enough. They used us, Victor continued. You and me, our grief, our rage. They pointed us like weapons, let us think we were choosing our own path, but we were always just tools. What are you asking? Victor leaned forward. When you go after them, and I know you will, you'll need people who understand, who've been where you are. John studied him. You want revenge against the table? I want purpose. Real purpose. Not the kind they give us. Victor's voice hardened. I want to break the machine that breaks people like us. For a long moment, John said nothing. Then, finish your business here. If you survive what comes after, find me. Victor smiled. A real smile. And if you don't survive what comes after? John stood, dropping gold coins on the bar. Then you'll know where to find my grave. You can finish it for me. He walked away, leaving Victor alone with his vodka and his ghosts. Victor found Sergei that night. It should have been simple. A clean kill. The final name crossed off. The end of the list. But when he cornered a man in a warehouse on the docks, gun pressed to his temple, Sergei said something unexpected. You think you're different from us? Better? Sergei laughed, blood on his teeth. You're worse. At least we know what we are. You hide behind your grief. Pretend it makes you righteous. But you're just another killer, Volkov. Just another dog. Victor's finger tightened on the trigger. Go ahead, Sergei hissed. Finish your list. Kill me, and tomorrow you'll wake up and they'll still be dead, and you'll still be empty. And the high table will still own you, because that's all you are now, a tool. Victor thought about John Wick, about their conversation, about the choice ahead. He thought about Aliska's laugh, Anna's drawings, still folded in his wallet, and he realized Sergei was right. The list didn't matter. Killing him wouldn't change anything, wouldn't bring them back, wouldn't make Victor human again. But maybe something else would. Victor lowered the gun. Sergei stared, shocked. What? You're going to do something for me, Victor said quietly. You're going to tell the high table that Viktor Volkov is done. No more contracts. No more hunts. I'm walking away. They'll kill you. Probably. Victor stepped back. But at least I'll die making my own choice. Not theirs. He turned and walked away, leaving Sergei alive. Leaving his vengeance incomplete. Choosing, for the first time in 3 years, to be something other than a weapon. They say Viktor Volkov vanished after that night. Some claim the high table sent assassins. That he died fighting, like John Wick would later die. Or not die, depending on who you ask, on those steps in Paris. Others say he found a new identity, a new life, that somewhere in some quiet corner of the world, he's running a bookshop again, shelving stories about heroes and tragedies. But the underworld whispers another version. They say that when John Wick finally went to war with the High Table, when he stood alone against impossible odds, he wasn't entirely alone. That in the shadows, moving through the chaos, there was another figure, silent, efficient, familiar, a hound, running beside the boogeyman. John Wick once said, "People keep asking if I'm back. Yeah, I'm thinking I'm back." Viktor Volkov never said those words, but in the end, he understood them, because men like them don't get happy endings, don't get peace, don't get to go back to who they were. But maybe, they get to choose what they become next. And in a world of blood and gold, of oaths and codes that bind tighter than chains, sometimes that choice is enough. They say the Hound of Hell found his redemption, not in vengeance, not in death, but in the moment he walked away from both and chose to hunt for something more.